Hello, and welcome to the Filmspeak podcast. My name is Dave.
And my name is Amanda.
And we're going to be talking about my top 3 movies. I have a kind of a problem with top list movie kind of things. I am very indecisive about things.
Me too.
And in 2 hours this list could change, but these were the ones that tickle my fancy at the moment. So, yeah, we'll discuss that in a little while. How was your week?
My week was good. I'm very happy that the holidays are now over.
Yes.
Get to finally exhale a little bit. But I did see some really good movies.
Such as?
Yeah, I saw La La Land last night, and I'm not fully recovered from seeing it. It was so good. It was a very happy and hopeful movie, and it was, I don't know, the whole thing was just very nostalgic, and it was definitely an homage to classic musicals. But it was I feel like it was the first time in a while that they had that happy tone and had such magic present in movies in a positive way. And also Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling were just both so beautiful that it hurt to look at them sometimes. But it was awesome. I definitely want to see it again. I would recommend it. I think it's one of my favorite movies that came out last year. And I also saw Moana on Christmas Eve, and that was really good too. There was maybe one too many musical numbers, but it's fine. It was really good. There's a lot of things that I really liked about it because the main character didn't have a love interest, and that was really cool to see in a kids movie for once.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and I also not to give away any spoilers, children who may be listening, but the grandma dies, and
it's a Disney movie. Somebody's gotta die.
Yeah, it's true, but it was also just the way that they portrayed the loss and how she carried it with her throughout the entire movie. I feel was a really positive way of dealing with that happening, and that was also part of the reason why I was crying a lot throughout the entire movie. To take a downturn though, I also watched both Road Trip and Euro Trip in the last week, intoxicated for both of them. But
As you should be.
It was good, yeah. Road Trip is so good, actually. I actually really like that movie, but Euro Trip was just hot trash. But it was okay. I was just feeling nostalgic, so I watched them. But what about you? What did you watch?
I watched the Suicide Squad movie.
Trash, right?
It was not... I mean, there were some parts that were okay. I thought Killer Croc looked awesome. It was just, as a 42-year-old dude, the Hot Topic aspect of it was a little too much for me.
That's what I've been saying. It's very Hot Topic, and it also just reminds me of a really, really long Avril Lavigne music video.
Yeah, it seemed like it was more... they had the musical... they had the score and or the soundtrack, and they were more okay, well, this is a good thing to happen while this happens. This is a song that a lot of people are familiar with, so they'll be oh, okay, and it just kind of, I guess kind of softens the blow. Oh, this is a familiar song, so it doesn't annoy me as much as it should.
Yeah, I really hated it.
Yeah. Will Smith's character, he did a decent job with it. What is her name?
He usually does, though. Margot Robbie?
Margot Robbie did a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, even, Captain Boomerang was okay. I'm a big Flash fan, so I was kind of interested to see how they would handle him, but they just kind of... He almost seemed like he was an afterthought, They're oh, well, he's a character in the book, we'll just put him in there, and... I don't know, if I was in charge of that button, knowing what I know about those guys, the button that would explode the bomb in their neck if they went a different way or, went against orders. They were constantly going against orders.
Yeah, no, they were.
And you knew when they introduce everybody and then they get to the whole meetup and they're who's that guy? And he's I'm Slipknot. I can climb anything. And it's oh, your power is that your head's going to get blown off first.
Yeah.
That's... You can tell, at least give us some kind of story so we're invested in it. Not
right.
oh, generic guy, yeah, just give him a red shirt. You might as well.
Yeah.
But,
I don't know. It's like not even just the movie. I just feel like the way that it was marketed and everything too, it all
Yeah.
just like added up to this like level of annoyance for me because they were releasing like TV spots and like releasing trailers for the movie. I feel late 2015. Like it was very very early on, and it was always the same type of trailer. It was like action scene,
yeah.
and then it was like Margot Robbie saying something quirky, and like the Joker, even though the Joker only had what, like 5 minutes of screen time. And not that I mind because I like can't really stand Jared Leto, especially in that movie, but I don't know, the whole thing like turned me off. I do know one of my friends who is my age. She saw it and was talking to me about it, and she was like, I hate admitting that I liked it. It was just like a bit of like teen angst nostalgia, I guess, like the way it was. And I guess I kind of can see it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say actors did bad jobs or anything like that. Acting is hard. I know. Because I'm not an actor, so I'm not.
Acting is hard, and it is a little bit not up to you how it turns out in the movie.
Yeah.
Because there's so many other things that are happening with camera work and with editing and everything. And I can understand that, and also I can kind of like somewhat feel for Jared Leto because he was definitely under the impression that he was going to get more screen time.
Right. Yeah.
And when the movie came out, everyone continued to kind of shit on him because it just was like ridiculous. But I don't want to get into like my whole rant on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't want you to either.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But no, he there were things that he hit on that were like, okay, you've got the right idea.
Yeah.
For me, I just think the character fell kind of flat. I'm more of a traditional, and I honestly I thought that Jack Nicholson's Joker wasn't very good either. I know it's against the grain to say that, but if you go back and rewatch that movie, like every time he's about to pull a heist, he's like, oh wait a minute. And this was the same thing kind of like with Suicide Squad, where it's like, we have to squeeze or shoehorn the soundtrack into here somehow. So every time the Joker is going to do something, he's going to play 2 minutes of a Prince song on a boombox and dance around, and then say whatever catchphrase he has to say when Batman actually shows up. And
right.
I don't know. But I also don't want to get into a rant on superhero movies.
What do you think about Heath Ledger? His portrayal of the Joker.
I thought he was good. He was very good.
I think so too. I do think that, and I feel bad for saying this because I'm a huge Heath Ledger fan, but I feel like his death definitely added to a lot of people's opinions on it. But I think he's still my favorite portrayal in like big Hollywood movies of the Joker.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Until Mark Hamill does a live Joker, then that's gonna be. It's the Joker we all deserve. If you're listening out there, Time Warner, make it happen.
Please.
Yeah, come on, man. I also, speaking of more comic book stuff, I read Jonathan Hickman's run on the Fantastic Four. It was great. There were things throughout the whole run that comes back to bite Reed Richards in the ass, but ultimately they triumph because, they're the Fantastic Four, and they're fantastic. So yeah, if only they could get a good movie as well, but
yeah, they don't get love in the movies.
Things are moving and shaking for them, from what I hear on the YouTube channels. Yeah, they could be reverting back to Marvel or being lent to Marvel like Spider-Man is. So that's good, especially since
there's a new Spider-Man coming out.
Yeah.
In the next year, right?
Mm-hmm. Homecoming. Okay. Yeah, so that should be good.
Is it gonna be like? I don't know if this is like a dumb question, but is it going to be the same type of Uncle Ben got shot and now I'm Spider-Man? Because I'm kind of tired of seeing it.
Yeah, well that's, the problem with the superhero movies is that every time, they restart a franchise, they have to retell the origin in a new way, and everybody has to put their fingerprints on it and things like that. And it's just, people know the origin. Like, if you know Batman, his parents got shot in an alley, and he grew up and traveled the world to become the best, at the peak of human whatever, best detective, best martial artist,
Best rich person.
Best rich person. But yeah, so that's his origin. We know that shit. You can say it. You can, even if you have to tell it, you can do that in like a 5-minute flashback thing.
Right.
You don't have to waste an hour of a movie just telling us shit that we already know.
I agree with
Get
that.
to punching bad guys in the face. Or getting punched by aforementioned bad guys. Just get to the point.
Yeah.
God damn it. Anyway. So I guess my third favorite movie, in no particular order, would be nothing to do with superheroes. It's called...
Smooth segue.
Yeah, I'm a master of segues. I'm still working on it.
It's fine.
But this movie is a movie by Mr. Steve Martin called The Jerk. It's one of my favorite movies. I've seen it many times. It was one of the first, like, more mainstream absurd movies, which is kind of like Steve Martin's wheelhouse. He would, his beginning stand-up was just pretty much to see, like, where the boundaries were, and he's just, he's a funny guy, and this is kind of one of those things where he was pushing boundaries, and, it's a good movie, it's funny. It's still, to this day...
Do you think it holds up?
I do, yeah. I recently rewatched it, and still funny, and it has a good message, I think, underneath all the comedy. There is an actual story in it, and I guess the moral of the story is, for him, is that no matter what you do, your family's always going to be there for you to pick you up.
The last time I saw that movie, I was probably in elementary school. I actually can remember it perfectly. My mom worked in a hospital, and I would go to work with her all the time. Okay, we had this tiny TV with a VCR built into it, and there was like a mini like library thing in the hospital, and they had The Jerk, and my mom was like, "Oh, you gotta watch it."
Yeah.
And so I was just like in her office watching The Jerk. I watched The Jerk once, but I would always watch Mulan, Edward Scissorhands, and Aladdin, like, over and over again.
I think you made terrible choices then. If you didn't watch The Jerk at least more than once.
I mean, I don't think I, like, cared or understood it as, like, an 8-year-old. But I do love Steve Martin. I think that I definitely had a different impression of him when I was little, because the first thing... That might have been the first movie I've seen him in, but I also, like, distinctly remember, like, the Cheaper by the Dozen movies, which are, like, near and dear to my heart. Those are so funny. I love those movies. So I definitely had, like, a childhood family movie impression of him, whereas other people of, like, different ages probably have, like, the more stand-up based, like, beginning of his career in mind. I don't know. I do love Steve Martin, though, and I actually follow him on a lot of social media, and he's just, like, fucking hilarious.
Oh, yeah. He's brilliant when it comes to comedy, and other things, too. He's, an accomplished banjo player, and, writes plays and books, and so he's definitely a national treasure.
No, I agree.
But also another thing about the movie is the character of Naven is just so innocent, and he knows he has to go out and become something bigger than what he is, and he goes out, and you see all his failures, and no matter what, it never, like, dulls his sense of he needs to accomplish something. So, again, it comes back to, I think, the strength of his family that kind of pushes him forward. Like, even when he's making, if he makes $5, he sends some of it home to his parents, even though they're, they don't really need it, but, he's always thankful to them, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, so there's a good message, and the scene with Bernadette Peters when they're walking on the beach, playing "Tonight You Belong to Me," is just it's extra cute, I think. But yeah, so The Jerk, number 3. I don't even know if we're putting numbers on it.
That's the first one you're talking about.
Yeah.
So that can be number 3.
It's number 3 in some aspects, and in other aspects it's number 1, because it's the first I'm talking about. I don't know. Anyway, on to the next movie.
What is your second favorite?
My second movie that I would like to speak about is Jaws. Jaws 1. mind you. There were some sequels. But Jaws, to me, when I was a kid, I was always into, like, underwater, like, fish, and as opposed to above water fish. And whales and sharks were always my jam. I'd always been obsessed with sharks. And when I was a kid, I always wanted to see Jaws, but my parents were kind of like, not yet. But then when I saw it, it was amazing to me. It was one of those movies that I wanted the shark to win. I always, when I was a kid, I was more interested in the bad guys as opposed to the heroes or heroine. And it, like, even in everything, I've always thought the bad guys are more interesting because I always want to understand what makes them the bad guys. And with Jaws, it's just nature, and you can't fight that. That's this shark is hungry, and he's gonna eat people. So get out of the water, you know.
Yeah.
But it's done really well. Shot really well. You care about the characters. Yeah, I think it's a great film, and it's another movie that stands up to this day.
I really don't know the last time I watched that all the way through, and I've been meaning to rewatch it, especially since I hang out with you in Fridley now. But I do, like, distinctly remember and, like, know that I've seen other shark movies, and I don't think any of them are really, like, as effective or, like, as enjoyable as Jaws was. And I kind of don't like any modern shark movies. Like, I remember seeing Deep Blue Sea all the time when I was little for some reason. We had it on DVD. Don't know why. Don't know why anyone let me watch it. Hello, parents. Supervise me, please. But I also saw, like, The Shallows recently, and I was just like...
I saw that, too.
What'd you think?
There were some genuinely suspenseful parts to it. But I don't know. There were just how she gets out of it, to me, is just a load of malarkey.
Yeah.
And,
I agree.
Again, there were beautiful shots.
Yeah.
It's really hard for one actress to carry a movie like that, to just be in distress the whole movie. So she did a good job.
I agree.
And the other guys, that were in the movie for the brief periods of time, shout out to that seagull. That's what's up,
Yeah.
But
Best supporting actor.
Yeah, best supporting actor. Seagull with blood on your face. But yeah, I didn't hate it. It's not a movie that I would probably watch again if I was going to watch a movie like that. It made me realize how good of a movie Jaws was, because it hits on every cylinder, as opposed to where The Shallows did do some things correctly and did do some things well. It missed the mark on a lot of other things, for me at least.
I agree.
But
yeah, I don't know. I generally have problems with shark movies just because it's like, sharks don't know what the fuck is going on. Like, they're like mostly
sharks know
blind.
what's going on. They're nature's perfect killer.
Okay, but like, they're mostly blind, and whenever they attack humans, it's because they think that they're seals.
They can smell one drop of blood in, like, at least a mile radius. They're coming to get you.
Okay, alright.
And then, not only that, but if you rub a shark one way, it's smooth. But if you rub a shark the other way, it cuts you. So there's more blood, so it's going to get you.
I mean, I agree that they're predators, but I don't... I don't know. I don't always think that, like, it's smart to...
They're not predators. They're killing machines.
Okay. I don't think it's always smart to just, like, be like, you're gonna get eaten by a shark. Because usually they take one bite of a human and move on.
Yeah, that's because we eat shittily, but...
Yeah, and also because we're not seals.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jaws is a good movie.
Yeah, Jaws rules.
What is your number one?
I guess my number one...
/3.
Number 1/3/ maybe not even on the list tomorrow. I don't know. My list is fungible. Yeah. My other movie that I would like to speak about is The Exorcist. This is a movie that, again, I wasn't really allowed to see it. I wanted to see it earlier than I should have. And I remember my parents and my aunt and uncle went and saw this movie and my cousins and I just kind of like hung out while they went to the movie and then got dinner. And I remember my uncle, who was he was a badass, but he was kind of like whoa about that movie, and that to me was something that made me want to see it even more. So when I finally did get a chance to see it, it was there are iconic scenes in there that you just can't forget, like the head spinning around, the pea soup, the stairs, just and the soundtrack again. Also with Jaws, that's another thing that really affects you is the soundtrack. And to me, film scores really make the movie, and those two movies both have iconic film scores where you hear it and you're like, oh yeah, that's that.
Jaws is like one of the like most legendary soundtracks because
Yeah.
they like literally created a villain in 2 notes.
Right, exactly.
I agree though with the soundtracks, they definitely make the movie.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely a lot more aware of it now than I used to be. Like when I was younger and watching movies, I didn't really pay attention, but I notice it a lot more now.
But yeah, The Exorcist also deals with a lot of things. I was raised Catholic, which, is another reason why The Exorcist is one of my favorite movies. Just, it was one of those movies where you're told one thing and then all of a sudden you kind of lift up the covers or you lift up the rug and you see all the things that are swept underneath of it. It also awakened a lot of things in me, like, that made me want to seek out more, like, horror movies and things like that. So it's another movie that actually kind of like pushed me in a direction where it's like, this is something that's not really talked about as something, that happens regularly, people getting possessed, but it makes it real, and it's like, whoa, this is scary, not being in charge of yourself and jamming a crucifix into your daisy. Like, oh, okay, yeah, this is all right. This is not the movie you want to watch with your parents.
Oh yeah.
Unless, your parents are super cool.
Yeah, super cool with that going down.
Yeah. But yeah, I love The Exorcist. I've seen it in the theaters. Every time they have a revival of it, I try to go see it just because it's amazing on the big screen.
Have you checked out the Exorcist TV show that came out?
No.
I haven't either. I actually don't. I haven't heard of anyone watching it, so I don't know if it's like good or not. But I'm curious about it.
I haven't heard anything about it. I'm also leery of other exorcism movies, just because, not that they can't do a better thing. Like, I know their effects are much different than what they were, but I think this one just hits on so many good levels that it's one of those movies that you can't really fuck with. It's great. You can never. I'm sure at some point they'll try to remake it, but to me, this one is pretty perfect as far as good, eerie movies, and it's a good stepping on point for like this and Rosemary's Baby, where the supernatural just not only affect you in a way where it's like innocence is what's being corrupted with the child in this, and in Rosemary's Baby, an unborn baby, like there's nothing you can do.
Right.
Like the children don't understand what's going on. They just know that they're not in control anymore.
Right.
And there's nothing scarier, I guess, than seeing your children be completely out of control and under the influence of something just pure evil.
I honestly haven't seen The Exorcist.
Wow, man!
Yeah. I know.
You should put that on your list.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but this past year, like within the last 2 months, I did make a list of like classic horror movies that I haven't seen before that I need to, and that was, it was definitely on the list. I just keep getting distracted and like watching other shit. But I have made progress on that list otherwise, so it's fine.
Well, the next time you think about popping in Cheaper by the Dozen, either one or two.
One is better. One is better.
Right. If you're listening, don't fuck with
Cheaper by the Dozen
2.
Yeah. Eugene
good.
Levy just ruins the second one for me, but I'll still watch it.
That makes me sad. He was amazing in Bringing Down the House.
He was. I think that was
Also
the role
another
of a
Steve
lifetime.
Martin vehicle.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have not seen The Exorcist, like some people
Me.
that are in this room, go do it.
Me.
Yeah, and do that. I think it'll hopefully change your life, and it's a good movie. I like it.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah. So there are a ton of movies on here that I could have put on here, but I just didn't. These were just the ones that I was thinking about today. Like, my first draft was Blade 1, 2, and 3, and then I was like, no, I can't do that. So I gotta mix it up a little bit, and I was just gonna go Blade 2 and 3, and then The Exorcist. And then I was like, no. But no, so, there are a lot of other movies that just barely missed the cut, which I'm sure at some point we'll be talking about.
Definitely.
But yeah, so Blade 1, 2, and 3. Shout out to Snipes.
Alright, well, I guess that wraps it up for this episode. If you are listening and you like what you've been hearing, make sure that you follow us on Instagram at Filmspeak, and we are also on Twitter at FilmspeakPod, and we do have a Facebook page. But anyway, ad over. I hope you have a good day.
I hope you do too. Thank you for listening to my list, and again, these lists they can change in a minute. So, but yeah, thank you for listening, and we got some movies to watch. Somebody's got to watch The Exorcist.
Yep,
Yeah.
very true.